is history, the future mystery. This moment is the gift. Every second.
We have been told we must laugh a lot on this show. So today's show is filled with laughter, Miracle Makers. This is Dr. Sarah Larsen. In-house, and Sunset Gower is our house, UBN Studios, the oldest studio in Hollywood where Scandal and James Van Prague and some of the legends of Hollywood have been. I'm here with my Miracle Maker husband. Hello, baby.
How are you doing, my love?
Oh, I'm so good.
You know, there was a cucumber and a carrot that walked into a bar. There's probably an ending to that joke. I don't know it, but my kids have told it a couple times. And, but I wanted to continue this theme of laughing and laughter. And
It's been so good. Earlier today, we did live readings on air.
No.
And Miracle Makers, if you've always wondered what it'd be like to be read by a medical doctor, a medical intuitive, a medium, the 11 o'clock show is for you. It's sponsored by UBN. We love UBN. We love you guys. And so we keep bringing you great content and time with us so that you can experience it for yourself.
can you do a reading for me right now?
You're going to be very lucky tonight.
Oh, my gosh! I need to go, sit down on the couch in the green room and, absorb that.
You were tuning in for our live air online date. We had found ourselves so busy this year, 2016, at the beginning of the year. We decided that we would actively take time out and go on a date. And we are bringing you along with us, Miracle Makers. This week has been extraordinary, and we've been enjoying our date so far. And our guest that we brought on this date is quite extraordinary as well. Is there anything you want to share before we dive in? Because you got a huge packet in the mail this week, which was a miracle.
That was a miracle, yeah. Wow. A couple years ago, I was on this Norwegian reality TV show because I'm a Norwegian American, and they cast Norwegian Americans to go back to Norway and compete in all these cultural challenges, and the winner receives a reunion with their family. So very near and dear to the hearts of everyone who participates in that show. I didn't win the reunion, but I did go back and I met my family, and I saw where my paternal great-grandfather was born in that farm. And then when I returned to the States, I gave a presentation on my experience in Norway at a few places. One of them was where my mom went to high school, which is Wilmer, Minnesota. And after I finished the presentation, a gentleman walks up to me and he says, "I'm your grandmother's third cousin. And I have information on this side of the family, which I had not, that was not the side of the family they tracked for the show." And just this week, he said he did all this, genealogy stuff. And so this past week, I finally received a packet from him. And I just, one of the things I discovered was that it would be my 5 times great-grandfather when his son left Norway in 1852. Shortly thereafter, he followed him to America, and that he was buried in the cemetery where my grandma was buried. And I never knew any of this.
It's incredible.
So amazing, yeah.
And that church that they supported their whole life, and your family
it was
support,
built by my
so
great-grandfather. Yeah,
was built, the space built by that, and so inspiring and moving. And we're planning a trip back now with our kids to go visit it.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's incredible for each of us to really understand ourselves over a period of time. And today's show is, we've got in studio someone that just, when you meet her, your heart opens for all the love that she carries in her heart and in her spirit. And then you find out all the incredible work that she's done. We've got Linda Cruse in studio, and I'm going to read your bio before we bring you in, and the in-studio applause. Linda Cruse was a stressed-out single mom working in a job she hated. She was driving along a motorway in the middle of the night when she suffered temporary blindness. This terrifying episode led to a blinding insight. What is the point of living if living has no point? Determined to make a difference, Linda began a new life. This was the start of a scary, lonely, but always emotionally fulfilling job. Teaching skills and bringing aid and above all love to war-torn refugees, the poverty-stricken, and the victims of disaster. We've got Linda Cruse.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. We love having you because when you were in studio with us, we have all the stories of the lives that you've touched. We've got all the stories of the bridges you've built between the wealthiest, between the businesses, the CEOs, and the students, and those that are in developing countries without the resources. And take us back to that night that you were driving and felt this blindness coming in. What insights came in? And I say this really because so many people are driving right now or in their life right now, and they know they're not, this life that they're living is not what they want to be doing with their time. And so take us back to that.
Yes, I will
and
do.
The insights.
Thank you. Basically, there's a background to it. I met the man of my dreams when I was 16 years old. When I was 20, I got married. By the age of 24, I had 2 gorgeous children. By the age of 28, I was divorced. My first career, I was a nurse and absolutely adored it. It was just, I never wanted to be off duty. But once I became a single mum, I had to look for a job that provided a better income. And at the time, the pharmaceutical industry was desperate for nurses. And as I saw all the dollar signs, it was company car, subsidized mortgage, good holidays, I thought, I can do this easily. And look, I can just be super mom, I can pay all the bills and my children will be happy. So that's what I did. I jumped into this job, although deep down, I knew it wasn't for me. At the time, many of the products I had to sell to me were unethical. I didn't believe in them. And I could feel myself getting more and more stressed. And every time I went home and drank another glass of wine or cried myself to sleep, I thought, doesn't matter. You're super mum, just carry on. Until I was at a sales conference in the north of England and I was desperate to leave and get back home. Dark winter's night. And as I was driving on the motorway, way before the time of mobile phones, terrible stabbing pains behind my eyes, curtains came down, and I ended up on the hard shoulder, blind. How I stopped, I don't know, intuition, angels. But I sat there, not able to leave the car, not able to communicate with anyone. And that's when I started to go inside, of course.
Yes.
My first thoughts were shock, anger, and then why me? What have I done wrong? To I will never work again. I will never see my children again. And then as the minutes passed and I sat there, I started to pray to a God I hadn't thought about for a very long time. And my plea was, if my sight comes back, I promise I will find what I was born to do and I will live my passion and my purpose. And that was my plea, my promise. And I was lucky. My sight came back. And I went home to my children and the doctor said it was stress blindness or hysterical blindness. But I realized I'd just gone completely off my path and I'd been attracted by money, financial security. And the stress I was under, I tried to just bury, ignore, and I'd become really miserable. I mean, I first of all said to my kids, I've got to change something. And they were too young for me just to leave them and go off and do what I knew I wanted to do. And I would listen to the conversations I was having with friends and family. And it was this batting backwards and forwards of the most negative things, where the weather's bad. Oh, it's going to be worse tomorrow. And look at your hair. Yeah, well, it's horrible, isn't it? I need it cut. Just negativity, everything. So I remember saying to my children quite clearly, there's 3 words we're going to eliminate from our vocabulary. And they were teenagers. I said, it's no, not, and don't. And they weren't very happy about that.
Yeah.
And I said, we're going to have a swear box. And every time we say the word, we're going to put money in the box. guess what? We had a good holiday that year.
No,
But it started me on my
I
road.
love those words. No, not, and don't. So we're always a yes.
Yeah.
That's our thing. I love that you have why those words. So if there's a mom right now and everything that her kids say or everything that's experienced in their household creates a negative downward spiral, let's give them this tip. No, not, and don't.
Just reframe it, because it's not like our lives are all happy and rosy and things are always going great. But every time you use a heavy negative word or expression, as we know, it pulls us down. It just
Yes.
sets a bad vibration. The other thing I did, the other tip was, as soon as the news came on, we turned it off for
Yes.
1 month solidly. And we filled that vacuum with dance music and with comedy.
Yes.
Because again, I found myself just repeating everything from this really heavy news.
It's incredible because we've developed, dear miracle makers, if you're listening to this and you've gotten a heavy vibration or heaviness in your heart, you're not looking forward to going home, or every time you wind up in a conversation, you wind up sadder than when you started the conversation. Replace the words no, don't, all of that with not yet.
Yes.
Whatever it is that you want to create, and to start developing a growth mentality. If it doesn't grow you, if it doesn't allow you to see possibility, to really take time to first hold the words inside. Don't say it if it's not going to grow a possibility. And if you say something that you want or intend to create, add the words not yet. We haven't created this yet. And then it's baby steps into a new way of being that your body loves and your body accepts. And so continue with your story.
Yes. So basically, I mean, this learning myself and the children went through really changed us. But I also became aware that I'd gathered around me a lot of very negative people as well, because you are who you have coffee
Yes.
with, right?
Yeah,
So
there you go.
it's true. You have to mind your language and
Yes.
understand the little bubble you've created for yourself. And you may have to step away from it. You may have to be silent for a while. But actually, I mean, what happened for me once my son went to the army and my daughter went to university, I literally sat them down and I said, "Can I leave home now?" Because I'd realised that I wanted to continue caring for people as in my nursing profession, but not in safe, sanitised England. I wanted to go where people had no financial security, no social security, and were living in the hellholes of the world. And I knew that was my mission from all the life skills I had. Yeah.
It's so interesting because you were a nurse, I was a doctor. When I couldn't go into the pharmaceutical industry for me when I transitioned. And part of the reason I couldn't was my husband said, "Oh, I don't believe in doctors." And we really didn't believe in the pharmaceutical industry. I went through a depression during the period as a not licensed physician in California and pregnant with a baby. And I sat quite often depressed. And over a course of time, I figured someone said to us, "Oh, you don't have to go out there to serve. You can serve right where you are." And if you've got children, if you can't yet leave home and yet you feel this desire to serve where you are is what you're sharing. And when you were serving where you are and creating where you were in that moment when your kids were off to college, then you just began developing new ways to grow service.
Yes.
And so take us there.
Well, yes. I mean, I've worked in 3 major continents: South America, Asia, and Africa. I've helped after most of the huge catastrophic disasters like the Asian tsunami, Pakistan earthquake, 2 super typhoons in the Philippines, the Nepal earthquake, Ecuador earthquake, and of course now we have Haiti.
Yeah.
I've worked with hundreds of refugees worldwide and in places that are war-torn like Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Uganda as well with the
Absolutely.
Uganda boys.
Quite.
And, yes.
Yes. But it's really what has been so amazing is that as I've approached this type of humanitarian aid, I've realized that, there's so much we're doing now. We need to sort of shift the paradigm, because my big mantra is a hand up, not a hand out. Whenever I go anywhere and I see people who have lost everything, their livelihoods and everything, and I'll take you through a story, because I think it really sort of gives the picture. So in Thailand, after the Asian tsunami, I was in a survivors camp of 5,000 Thai people, and they'd lost everything, their livelihoods, their homes, and many loved ones. So they're completely shattered. And when I was in this camp, a young mum came up to me and with outstretched hands said, will you take my baby? I can no longer feed her. And I just said, absolutely not. I will not feed your baby. And that sounds really hard and cruel, doesn't it? But actually, I didn't want to start that cycle of dependency. And it was important to me that she could be independent and could take care of her own child. And so the community that I engage as my tribe are the private sector, because I feel they are the most underused resource. That's where we have the most brilliant brains. So I ran up to Bangkok and said to the British ambassador, can we throw a party? And they're very good at that. So we had this big diplomatic party. And it was so lovely because international national business leaders came. And I said, I'm going to give you a challenge. I want you to come with me to this really broken part of Thailand. And with your entrepreneurial skills and your business acumen, I would like you to look at what the situation is and come up with a way they can earn money right now. And they love a challenge. Business leaders love a challenge. They'll never suggest anything's going to fail. It's too embarrassing. So they came with me and they looked around, talked to the people, looked at the geography, and then ran back up to Bangkok. And we waited. A week later, they called me and they said, we've come up with a solution. And they said, lining the coast where the wave hit are acres of rubber trees. And these rubber trees are still standing. They would have been harvested by their grandparents, but they'd forgotten about it. So I ran back down to the villages and said, look, how do you feel about harvesting rubber? Because if they don't want to do it, it will never work, of course. We know that. And they said, well, yeah, grandparents did it, but we went to the hotel industry for tips. It was more glitzy and glamorous. But yes, of course, we can do it. And the total cost was $200 for 4 families. And it was for a coconut shell, a knife to scour the tree, and a rubber mangle. Can you believe within 4 months they were earning 3 times what they ever earned in the hotel industry? Immediately.
That's incredible.
And it wasn't my idea. I always say it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about us.
Yes.
Right? We are a tribe. My tribe, the business leaders, I also take the top students with me to solve problems. So the brightest and best brains come together. And in fact, Prince Charles taught me this. He said, when you go to a business leader and they say to you, okay, you've got a great cause here. He said, they'll get out their checkbook, the great big fat check will appear. And he said, you need that. But he said, just place that on the table. Because actually what you really want is them. Their heart, their soul, their business acumen, their gifts. Take them with you, involve them, engage them. And this has been my method right from the start up till today. And of course, I'm designing and evolving my projects. But it's all about empowering people to stand alone with independence. And it's my passion. It's my mission. Can you tell?
That's so awesome, baby. I know there's so much I want to share. I want to give you a minute just to chime in.
Well, what she's doing is tapping into the human beings are miraculous, and especially people, like you say, in leadership roles and who have the business experience, who've been through the ups and downs, they've learned so much. Why not harness that for these projects to go in and look with new eyes at these challenging situations and come up with solutions? Because solutions are abound also. You just have to have the right eyes and the right mindset to discover those.
We have so many resources, and quite often we get limited in our thinking that money is the only resource, but our relationships are resources. our group mindset that comes in when we begin to problem solve, or when we look at a scenario. You've got so much passion. Your passion can drive and create anyone being able to see and experience whatever it is that you're seeing and experiencing, and get them to want to participate. And so this is one of the biggest untapped resources, miracle makers, within yourself. Whatever it is that you want to bring through into the future, what is your passion? You have to be the most passionate about it. You have to know why it's important, why it makes a difference, the necessity of what you're bringing through. And if you were thinking, gosh, if I only had the money, then I would do this, this, and that, you're limiting your own resourcefulness there. And I invite you to reach out to people in your community, just like Linda, that you reached out to the prince. And the prince, yes, of course, the check is there, but gave you this advice, this way of being that then furthered everything that was possible for you. And so that's an incredible way to look at life and to look at every challenge. It's incredible because only you could bring that through in that way at that time. And you've developed programs to be able to solve challenges in different communities that you are a part of.
Yes, and this to me is just the greatest thrill of my life, to be able to give the experience and the joy of being on the front line to people.
Yes.
Because poverty does not equal unhappiness. When I'm working on the front line, the appreciation they have, they do not reach for the cup of coffee the first thing in the morning. They get up, they light their incense, they bless the day, they're grateful, they celebrate at the end of every day because they've managed to feed everyone, or they have, the rain has come down and the crops are growing well. And so I take people now to the front line with me, and it's absolutely not a boot camp. We have huge fun. I've got 2 trips coming up in Nepal, actually, in January and February. And I know people are busy, so they're always between 3 and 5 days. It's not like a 2-week trip. But I tell you what, I call it the 5-hour melt, because I've had really stressed out, like real estate people come with me for the experience. And they're there, they've literally got off the plane, they've had a crammed work time. And they come within 5 hours. They're just so overwhelmed by this unconditional love that's coming at them from the people that they're meeting, and the humbleness and the love, and sharing the rice they have, or sitting on the ground and telling stories and dancing and drumming in the evening. I call it the 5-hour melt. They are transformed. You don't need 3 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
It's 5 hours that it's transformed their lives.
Oh, it's so beautiful. We go on a trip to Egypt every year. And this last time that we went, it was so beautiful. And it's a 2-week excursion, mystery school teaching. We walked up to a village that wasn't expecting us. When we walked up and they heard us coming, like a huge dahabeah or yacht pulls up on the shore, we have a plank, we walk off, and we go to normally where people wouldn't be, coming from outside, stopping there. And the women rush up with bread that they had just baked for their own lunch or their own upcoming snack time. They bring bread. And the saying in that land is, when you break bread with someone, they can't harm you. Oh. And they start nurturing us from the moment that we walk in.
Yes.
Because they're grateful we're there. And then they're also grateful to be the advocates of the beautiful land that they're on. And there's a celebration. It's so amazing that within this short period of time, people are people. And you really feel, no matter what the resource level is, as you were saying, the stressed out real estate agent, getting back to feeling, I am just people.
Yes.
Hanging with and connecting with people. That is something our society. But what are some of the insights after having done this over again, and so many people? But just because you carry the vibration of the people of that land.
Oh, yes.
You can feel it when you enter
yes.
a room. The love
Yes,
and
yes.
this way of being at peace and a deep listening.
Yes, I mean, my greatest teachers have been the people I've worked with on the front line, the refugees, people have lost everything to disasters. And it is that incredible sense of love and community that they have. It's not about me, it's about us. And even if they only have enough food for that day, we'll share it and we'll break it down to serve as many people as possible. They wouldn't hoard it. They wouldn't try and scurry stuff away for tomorrow or the next day. I mean, most of them don't have bank accounts. They don't have financial resilience. So they have this incredible sense of community, which when I come to first world countries, I see that we're losing that a little bit. We're living in isolation more.
Yes.
And especially for the vulnerable, for the single mums, for the elderly, that's so tough. So when I'm on the front line, I just love that generosity of soul and incredible resilience because, you know, I come from a country where we have free healthcare and free education and we have great benefits. But actually, you know, these people, they know that the only person they can rely on is themselves. They don't have that security. So they are very resilient and they will look for many different ways of earning their money. That's why I find when I come in with my model of economic empowerment, probably per family, I don't need to help them with more than about $100. And they're back up, generationally successful. They don't need me anymore. And they just need that hand up just to set them on their way, because they have such a level of resilience. They literally will say a big thank you. You'll be a mentor for a while, and then you just say bye-bye. And you see them in 6 months with that $100 hand up. Incredible resilience.
So give us an example of, like you gave the rubber plants.
Yes.
It was a natural resource. It was sitting there. They'd forgotten that was their resource, and 3 times as much. Give us some more examples.
Please, yes. So I've been recently working in Nepal after the earthquake, and most aid agencies start helping with the closest to a railway station, road or airport. I'm the opposite because I want to work with the forgotten people, the one that they never reach. So I went to a high Himalayan village and all the homes had come down and literally they were just sitting there outside of their homes, really just wondering how they were going to take the next step forward because they don't have a social security system there. And I was speaking to the teachers who are always the most trusted leaders, interestingly enough. The highest respect in these communities are the teachers.
Yes.
And so I went to talk to them and we identified the most vulnerable. And there was one young mum who had 3 children, a husband who was disabled. And she had an idea of how to earn money. And while I was there, she came to see me, and bright young woman. And she said, I want to be independent. I want my children to return to school. I want to put food on the family, but I've got to take care of my animals. I've got to clean the house and I've got to take care of the fields. What can I do? And so we were chatting and she came up with that in Nepal, they have 16 hours of no electricity per day. And her idea was to make candles. And she said, I know that this is a market that will go on forever. We won't have light for the next 5 years. We didn't have it for the last 5 years. So as we always have a business approach, we said, right, tell me how much it will cost to make the candle. Tell me how much you will sell the candle for and how big is the market. She could make a 50% profit on every candle she made. She could make for 5 rupees. She could sell for 10. The market was endless. And she realized she could make 450 candles within 10 days. That's just working 2 hours a day. And now she has a whole sister community working on it.
Oh, that is so
and
beautiful.
The equipment, this was like wax, wick and mold, $112. She's done. They've got a whole sister community of candle makers. And now they're looking at doing scented candles for the hotels, for the restaurants.
And what's amazing is I was born in Pakistan, and before there was electricity, my grandparents studied by candlelight. But the value of how that extends the possibility of education, what
Yes.
can happen in a home. Not only is she making economic benefit for herself, but she's making this benefit for her community.
Yes.
And it's such an incredible, and miracle makers, you've got it in your home, whatever it is, that resourcefulness. If you're struggling, sit down and think of, what is it that I can create? What is it that the market around me needs? It might be cooking for your wealthy neighbors that are constantly having to eat out. It might be offering babysitting because you're across from a school and you see parents constantly late to pick up their kids, and you've got your own kids at home, but you could develop a nursery school. The resources are endless for you when you begin thinking of yourself in that mindset. What do I have plenty of that I can create or offer? What does the market need? And to develop out of that. And we have so many young people that listen to us, so many young miracle makers around the world. Baby, what would you add into this conversation?
You just have to know that as a human being, you are incredible, and you have to really, like, as you said earlier, you have to stop watching the news, because that does not reflect back to you that you're incredible.
Yes.
Or those things that bring you down. You have to make space in your life for a reflection that shares how incredible you are, and in that incredibleness is that resourcefulness. And as you start taking steps, then doors open, miracles happen, you meet new people, resources come in, new ideas come in, how to approach, new paths in life come in that that light you up, that make you speak with passion because you're so excited about this. So we have a beautiful example of that in you. So thank you for modeling that for us and for walking that path.
I also encourage people, an exercise I do when I do development classes, is to think about your 3 heroes. Because if you're worrying about what is your passion, what was I born to do, I say to people, think who your 3 heroes are, dead or alive, fictitious or not. And the elements of these heroes will actually start to help you to understand what you were born to do. For me, it was people like Florence Nightingale, it was a nurser, the carer. It was a lady who was the first person into Tibet, great adventurer, explorer. But then I started to look at their values and what they brought to the table. It's a great game to play when you're having an evening with the family or down at the local pub. But you can actually work, whoever your 3 heroes are will give you an idea. If you're struggling with what your passion and purpose is, it will start to open your eyes as to where to go.
It's so beautiful because there's a couple things, those 3 heroes, and the 5 people you hang out with most is who you're going to turn out like.
Yes.
And so if in your environment are all of these people not modeling the behavior of where you'd like to be or empowering you, or it's much better to keep your own company than to keep bad company. And that first step of putting on your own oxygen mask. And in this case, the inspiration, the hero's words, the hero's values. And if your current environment isn't a match for that, sitting with, and focusing on seeing yourself in the vision of connected with those values, and your mind will know the steps to take. The action choices will come in when you're choosing how you're going to be.
Yes. And also, we have so much stuff. I mean, 15 years ago, I sold everything I own. I don't own a house, car, painting, book, nothing. I have 1 suitcase. And what I realize, I have so many choices and freedom because of that. I can move, I can be, I can participate. And I think, to look around at all the stuff you're collecting, is that the golden chains that are just handcuffing you? Do you need that latest iPhone or iPad, or can you put that money into having an experience of a lifetime that may open another door for you? I do feel that's another key part to living in the first world. We have so many commercials and things coming at us all the time of things, what we should wear, what we should look like. Being aware of that, I think, is also key.
It's so much fun because we as a couple have made it our priority to, and we realized how much of a priority we made it when we did our taxes this year. We actually gave away more money than we made.
Wow, good for you. That's fantastic.
And it's so funny. It's we love our coaches. That's sort of our gift that we give ourselves, is because we believe in keeping great company. And sometimes you have to pay for that company to bring in the wisdom, bring in the education. And we're grateful that we are now getting coached to be able to have more resources even to give out, to share out. And it was, it's a badge of honor in a funny kind of way for us to recognize ourselves there, because we haven't had that mindset before. But we're going to organize ourselves to give to greater and greater degrees. And miracle makers, having the financial bit, having money, having resources, understanding that's sort of the quote unquote game that we're all, the collective humanity is playing. So learning how to manage your resources in order that you can give to the extent that you want to give is quite empowering.
Yes, totally. And I tell you, the key thing as well in my life is to ensure what you're doing is fun and you're having happiness and joy. Because I work with death, disaster all the time, and it can be very overwhelming and serious. But, for example, my background, my father's a magician, my grandfather was a magician, and I'm a magician.
Yes.
So watch out for your wallets. But it's like, I just think the more you can bring that humor, that laughter, that essence of happiness into what you're doing. And that just takes me into one of my latest things I'm launching, which is the 21-day Global Impact Challenge. Now, why am I doing this race for good? Because I was sitting in the Philippines after Typhoon Haiyan, seeing all this desperate seriousness, people overwhelmed by all the destruction around them. And I thought, we have to flip this on its head. We have to inject happiness, fun. And we all have a competition. We all love to win the prize. Yes. And if it's time bound, and of course, I'm bringing in the brightest and best brains to actually take part in this competition. But a key thing for me was to bring in the element of fun into a very serious subject. Because when we're overwhelmed by doom and gloom, we don't have our most creative ideas. We're just, we want to cry, and actually that isn't helping anyone. So the more, and I remember when my son was in the army in Afghanistan, and people would say to me, oh, you must worry about him so much. And I said, no, worrying is praying for what you don't want.
Yes.
You've got to be positive. You've got to look at everything, however serious it is, to address it in a completely different way. And so I'm flipping the way we're doing humanitarian aid on its head. It's going to be the most serious issues are going to be given to the brightest brains from university and business. And it's going to be a time-bound competition where there's great prizes. You come to the front line with me, you implement them. But we're going to have wild cards and jokers, and it's going to be fun.
It is fun. To be around you is so much fun. And to spend time where CEOs and students and business people are all on this same level. They're communicating and they're inviting in, juicing each other's brains, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, for solutions is incredible. That's part of what the 21-day challenge is bringing different walks of life into communication to solve joyfully the challenges that are in community. And I think it's important to recognize that the two halves of our brain communicate when we're creating. Yes. And if we're celebrating, we're in a creation mode.
Yes.
And that's that really activates the right brain. And the left brain is the one with language and communication. And so the two halves of our brain, and then passion, our heart comes in, blood flow increases to our brain.
Yes.
And so celebrate everything. Celebrate everything is one of our mottos early on, and we continue to do this with
Good.
our kids, that say yes. In the areas that you have not achieved what you want, add the words not yet.
Yes.
Find a way to serve where you are.
Oh, yes.
And find and examine the values of the people that you care for most and the ones that are in your environment. And then, baby, I'd love, because you've got the guy perspective, and you've got the Norwegian and the Viking and the conqueror.
Hey, if girls are having fun, I'm set. I'm dialed into that one. Let's turn that one up.
Which, yes.
Well, that goes back to what comes to mind is whistle while you work. It's a very famous, because it's about the vibration that you're carrying, and it's so important, because that's our journey on earth, is to be in action, is to be in the discovery, be in the flow, and while you're in that flow, things happen much more miraculously. If you're having fun, laughing, enjoying, playing off of each other, all of that, instead of whatever, isolating yourself or being down or talking about the election results or whatever.
Oh.
Okay, you put a real dampener on it now, haven't you?
It is an interesting time across our planet. The coherence of the earth is how the earth's energy is affecting us, and the coherence of the people and the population is how we're linked up. Our hearts communicate with each other, that coherence. If we're in a victim mentality, I'm powerless, I have no power, then we are creating discord. If we actively create, I'm not okay, we create, I'm not okay. And so all of what's being shared, this is probably the most important bit to get from here, is to be okay. Be okay. If you're hearing this, if you're breathing, if there's something in your environment, that's okay. And to bring in what you can celebrate. And I love your work. I love how you took, because today it's everywhere for people to hear, oh, go in service, go be part of this community, go do this. But you really, 20 years ago, or even more than that, longer than 1996 is, a little bit longer. We're going, how many years? That's 30 years. And 30 years that you were driving down the road.
Yes.
Where that showed up, and the intelligence of your body woke you up to either you're going to drive blind and crash,
Yes,
or you're going to open your eyes and create. And 30 years you couldn't Google how to do that on the internet.
And that's why I think it's, for people to follow their passion, you don't want to get to the stage of going blind.
Yes.
And that's why when you see yourself spiraling down, you have to just, if you're close friends, you should keep an eye on each other. We should all be keeping an eye on each other. But then I also realised that, I've seen so much that contribution is the greatest human need. And that is absolutely clear. And what I love, because I work a lot with business leaders, I was working with a large American accounting firm in Thailand after the tsunami, and it was quite incredible. A day a week they allowed their staff to come and volunteer to help the fishermen with their boats, to help them with the marketing and the accounting of their new trips they were running. So they were working only 4 days a week. After 6 months, the global chair came back and said, well done, chaps, you've done excellent work, thank you so much. But an incredible byproduct has happened. During the 6 months, our productivity has gone up. Service is giving back. We feel good. When we help other people, we stop thinking about ourselves. And it just, every single day gives us that spring in our step. Yeah. And I've noticed with all the people that have come to the front line with me, who have helped me, they carry an image around of the people that they're helping. They've connected with them with their heart and with their love and with their soul. But they feel so much better. Their whole life takes on another aspect. But you're absolutely right. I say to people, shine a torch around your feet. Never feel overwhelmed. Because often people say to me, you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people in disasters all the time. Why don't you just collapse? And it's like, because every single day, if I help one person, my job is done.
Yes.
I'm not here to save everyone on earth, but every single day, if I can change someone's life, that is just a joy and a gift. So never get overwhelmed. Smile at someone. Just listen to someone on the telephone, as you said. Anything, the smallest thing can have the hugest impact. One thing a day.
One thing a day. That we have random act of kindness. We also have give to someone every day that can't give back to you.
Lovely.
And our heart releases oxytocin when we're stressed. When we're stressed, but any level of stress brings in that ability to, oxytocin makes us want to be with other people and in service to other people. 20 seconds will activate oxytocin, a decrease in the stress hormone responses. So if the most you can do is give someone a hug, hold them for 20 seconds, not 15, hold them for 20. Their heart health, their whole life, all of that will extend and continue.
So beautiful.
Yes. We've only got a couple more minutes, and we're like, you're going to be at TEDx Canon tomorrow.
Yes.
We're both going to be at this All Ladies League event from India, the American Riviera's Woman Entrepreneur of the Year. And people can participate with you on the 21-day challenge.
You certainly can. Or come with me to the front line for an experience you will never forget. And super fun, by the way.
They are super fun. The TEDx talk tomorrow is happening at the Saban Theater, and community leaders are coming. You've written a book called Marmalade and Machine Guns. Your talk is on can serious fun have sustainable humanitarian impact? Which
Keep laughing.
Keep laughing.
You're an expert on fun, on humanitarian, making sustainable humanitarian impact. And then we are both going to be also at All Ladies League.
Looking forward to it.
Women's Economic Forum. All Ladies League is the largest women's organization uniting women from around the world.
Fantastic.
It's founded by a beautiful woman named Dr. Harbeen and a chancellor at an Indian university. She's coming, and all of us are speaking. You're speaking.
Yes, I
am.
am.
Which is so exciting. And my topic is the science of going from victim to volunteer.
Oh, I love it.
Isn't that incredible? You can get tickets for the All Ladies League, for the TEDx talk. You can join Linda Cruse. Can you give us your website?
Yes, it's lindacruse.com. There's no I in Cruse, so it's LINDACRUSE.com.
And we've got it on our website. So if
Fantastic.
we've got it, and we'll have links. We're so grateful that you made time to come be with us.
It's a complete honor to be with you all and to have so much fun.
And to have fun.
To have so much fun. And baby, anything you want to leave us with?
My heart feels pretty good right now. So thank you for bringing that energy and bringing your inspirational story and all that you're doing to this planet of ours. And you keep on putting out this invite to join you. And I think that's so awesome. And hopefully one day we can do that soon.
Please.
That would be,
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
I'm so looking forward to it. And Miracle Makers, subscribe, share this. We want our community to grow. And thanks to your sharing, it is growing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jarvis.
Thank you. Thank you.
The past is history, the future mystery.